Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It's Thursday, and I have no idea what's going on in the world, so it's time to find out. Hello, I hear your voice.
Hello. Oh boy. Probably shouldn't turn my camera on yet, huh?
Why, is there something wrong?
Yeah, because you don't want to see this crap.
What am I seeing that's crap?
Me.
Me.
El Crapo. Ready?
Today on Before Coffee, Zelensky pleads for security guarantees for Ukraine and Moldova.
Hey, it's time to prepare for the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season.
Djokovic, the tennis player, defiant despite warning not to repeat political message.
Canada's Nova Scotia appeals for help amid unprecedented fires.
Sunak to join EU leaders at Asylum Summit to address failings.
And Trump was taped discussing sensitive document he had kept after leaving office. So there's tapes. Today on June 1st, 2023, edition of Before Coffee.
Okay, let's read our first news story here about Zelensky at, I believe, the EPC, which we talked about yesterday. At least I think it was that. We'll see. The story will tell me. This is from The Guardian, Lisa O'Carroll in Chisinau, which is probably in Moldova, because I think they went to Moldova. We'll find out. Vladimir Zelensky has urged the international community to put concrete security guarantees in place in Ukraine and its neighbors Moldova to give the countries enduring protections against Russia. His plea at the start of the summit of 47 European leaders in Moldova, that's what I thought, came as officials confirmed that an 11-year-old girl, her mother, and another woman had been killed in a Russian missile strike on Kyiv early on Thursday. First to arrive at the summit in Moldova, the Ukrainian president said he would be speaking on Thursday to partner countries about putting in place potential air jet coalitions and a coalition providing Patriot missiles. That is our new initiative, and we really need it, he said after a 20-minute bilateral meeting with the Moldovan president, Maia Sandu. I think security guarantees are very important not only for Ukraine, but also for our neighbors. For Moldova, because of Russia, there are aggressions in Ukraine and potential aggressions in other parts of Europe, he said. On Wednesday, Emmanuel Macron called on the international community to offer Ukraine tangible and credible Israel-style security guarantees, saying it was in the rest of the continent's interests. We have to build something between the security provided to Israel and full-fledged membership, said Macron. Security guarantees are seen as a long-term alliance with U.S. and European defense capabilities without full membership of NATO, which is not possible while war is ongoing, as it would pull the organization into the conflict on the ground. Some have suggested that countries including the U.S., UK, France, Germany, and other places should have their own troops in the Ukraine post-war, in the same way that NATO offers security to member states that border Russia. Zelensky restated in his belief in the importance of Ukraine and Moldova's membership in NATO, with the support of its Security General Jens Stoltenberg, which would allow them to strengthen their national security against Russian aggression. I mean, it's kind of ironic. Russia is like, oh man, we need to go in to Ukraine to stop the Western powers from spreading into Eastern Europe or whatever. But they're only causing it to happen more because they're attacking people for no reason. Like, you're not saving anyone by bombing the capital of the country. Tight security surrounds the summit, which is being held just 12 miles from the Ukrainian border at the Mimi Castle Vineyard, which is also 3 miles from Transnistria, a separatist region of Moldova where Russian troops are also stationed. Oh, great. Access to the main airport was severely restricted, with British and NATO planes patrolling the skies as part of an air defense exercise, Air Bastion 2023, or Air Bastion, sorry. Bastion. Top of the agenda is Ukraine, but the recent violence in Kosovo will also be a feature, and France and Germany will host a roundtable involving the leaders of Armenia and Azerbaijan in an effort to broker a peace deal between the two countries. Sunak has made migration his top priority and will co-chair a working group with Poland's Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki. With brief talks anticipated with the leader of Spain, Bulgaria, and Poland. Mark Rutte, the Dutch Prime Minister, said he absolutely agreed with Sunak that migration should be high on the agenda, along with efforts to build a coalition to provide F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. Migration has to be high on the agenda, of course. Number one has to be Ukraine and Moldova. There's no doubt about it. We are working with the Brits on the F-16 fighter jet coalition, but I agree with Rishi. We also have to discuss migration, and we will do so absolutely. Aw, come on, the Netherlands, you let me down. Fuck migration, it doesn't matter. He also said EU leaders will be looking to sketch out the path for Ukraine's future security, working with the Danish and British to begin with. Adding in Ukraine is urgent the need of the Patriot systems. That's my story on a bunch of things I'm also going to talk about later, because I guess the summit was the biggest thing on the news schedule, so it's the only thing that anyone's talking about. Also, you're still muted, so I can't hear you. There. No, I can hear you. Wait, talk again?
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wasn't saying anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, it's time to prepare for the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season, according to Frida Tresario of AP. It's time for residents along the southeastern U.S. coastline to make sure their storm plans are in place for the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season. Gets underway on Thursday. Oh, it's like a football season or something. We have a schedule. Well, today the Miami Hurricanes play the Tulsa Tornadoes. Anyway, forecasters are predicting a new normal season, but Mike Brennan, the new director of the National Hurricane Center in Miami, stressed during a Wednesday news conference that there really is nothing normal when it comes to hurricanes. A normal season might sound good in comparison to some of the hurricane seasons in the past years, but then nothing good but a near normal hurricane season in terms of activity. Uncertainty is a key word, Brennan said. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration predicted in NOAA, let's just call him NOAA, in late May, a 40% chance of the 2023 being a near normal hurricane season, a 30% chance of above average season, and a 30% chance of a below normal season, which has fewer than usual storms. So we're expecting a busy season with 12 to 17 named storms, Brandon said, adding that 5 to 9 of those storms could become hurricane, with 1 to 4 growing into major hurricane. It only takes one storm affecting your area to make it a busy season for you, he said. This year, the Hurricane Center is rolling out a new storm surge model that Brennan said helps push real-time storm surge prediction out 72 hours in advance of the storm in hopes of getting life-saving information to emergency managers regarding evacuation orders. In addition, tropical weather outlooks have been extended from 5 days up to 7 days, providing an additional heads-up for residents to make decisions about whether to evaluate in advance of a storm, Brennan said. What is El Nino and how will it affect the 2023 season? Well, I'm glad you asked. El Nino is a natural temporary warming of the Pacific Ocean that occurs every few years, changing weather patterns worldwide. Generally, the Atlantic is quieter and has fewer storms during El Nino years. That's because the warmer waters of El Nino make warmer air over the Pacific reach higher into the atmosphere and affect wind shear that could head off storms. Too complicated for me to understand. Brendan noted that there were other factors that add to the uncertainty of the effects of El Nino, such as warm sea temperatures, weaker low-level easterly flows, and more active African monsoon season. Those forces are going to kind of fight it off over the course of hurricane season. We don't know how the season is going to play out. Well, we don't know. So basically a big old question mark over the hurricane season. We're going to have 12 to 17 storms. 1 to 4 is going to be really strong. Get prepared by bottled water. get a generator, so forth. Because if you live in the southeastern United States, your names of your storms are going to be the following: Arlene, Brett, Cindy, Don, Emily, Franklin, Gert, Harold, Idalia, Jose, Katia, Lee, Margot, Nigel, Ophelia, Philippe, Rena, Sean, Tammy, Vince, and Whitney. Myself, I am only caring about Hurricane Nigel because of the song We Are Only Making Plans for Nigel. Okay, if you've ever heard it, it's by Squeeze.
Well, I'm hoping none of those names hurt anybody, but like you said.
Okay, but I can't wait. I'm just telling you.
Be prepared.
Your story
for Nigel.
With Hurricane Nigel.
I'm looking up for Ophelia myself. Never trust an Ophelia, so.
I'm going to play that song. I'm going to sing it now, just because they're going to have a Hurricane Nigel. It's a song by XTC. XTC. I forgot. Yeah, it was XTC, one of my favorite bands. They have Dear God, Peter Pumpkinhead, and Making Plans for Nigel. So, yeah, XTC is going to be naming hurricanes this year.
Okay.
I'm just saying, there's a song. Yeah. We're only making plans for Nigel. All right, go ahead. Your song. Your song, right, your story.
In some French Open news, which I don't usually pay attention to sports or tennis, but he said some political stuff, so now I care. Novak Jokovic, he's a famous... Huh?
Jokic.
Okay, see, like I knew he's a famous tennis player, but I couldn't say his name. Djokovic, defiant, despite warning not to repeat political message. Djokovic has insisted that he would not hesitate to opine on Kosovo and the clashes between the authorities and ethnic Serbs again, even as the backlash to his comments continues to grow. I don't mind saying that. I would say it again, Djokovic said. But I don't need to because you have my quotes if you want to reflect on that. Of course, I'm aware that a lot of people would disagree, but it is what it is. It's something that I stand for. On Wednesday night, Djokovic defeated Martin Vuksovic 7-6, 6-0, and 6-3 to reach the third round of the French Open, where he will face Alejandro Davidovic Fokina of Spain. As if he thinks he could ever experience a drama-free Grand Slam tournament. If I know anything about Djokovic, that's impossible, but okay. Could he ever avoid a drama-free, or could he ever experience a drama-free Grand Slam tournament? Djokovic said he did not believe it was likely. So that happens. Drama-free Grand Slam, I don't think it can happen. For me, I guess that drives me as well, he said. Djokovic said that Djokovic then said that he had no more comments to make on the subject. After his round match on Monday, Djokovic had signed the camera Kosovo in the heart of Serbia. Stop the violence. I agree. Please stop the violence. We don't need to beat each other up. Referencing the violent clashes that have taken place in northern provinces of Kosovo between Kosovo authorities and ethnic Serbs that form the majority in the north. Djokovic has spoken expansively about the subject in Serbian. Amelie Auda Castera, the French sport minister, said on Wednesday that Djokovic's comments were not appropriate for an athlete. Okay. Typical of French people to tell people what's appropriate. When you carry messages about defending human rights, messages that bring people together about universal values, a sports person is free to express them. He said stop the violence.
Little French.
Oh, that's not the kind of human right defense I wanted. I want you to say Serbian stop. I wanted you to make it political by specifically saying who needs to stop. He just said stop the violence and that Kosovo is the heart of Serbia. That's all I said. Oh, that's too political.
Oh, not that.
Odea Castera told France too, but in this case, it was a message that is very activist. It's not very. It's slightly, okay? He didn't say all Armenia. He shouldn't say all all Kosovoans need to be Serbian or free Kosovo or that.
Make
Kill all
Yugoslavia
non-Serbians. He didn't say that. That's very political.
Make Yugoslavia great again.
Yeah, exactly. You shouldn't get involved, especially in the current circumstances, and it shouldn't happen again. The Kosovo Olympics Committee has requested that the International Olympic Committee open a disciplinary proceeding against Djokovic,
My God.
as its president accused him of promoting Serbian nationalist propaganda. Djokovic has yet again promoted the Serbian nationalist propaganda and used a sport platform to do so. It's met Krasniki, the president of the KOC, said in a statement. The Grand Slam rulebook contains no prosecution against players speaking about political subjects during events, meaning Djokovic will not receive any punishment from tennis authorities. Okay, then shut up. Like, somebody needs to do something.
They're mad because he didn't get vaccinated. So everything he does from now on is open to... It's like the Aaron Rodgers thing. He's obviously anti-American killer. I don't even know what the hell you're mad about. I know people ain't got vaccinated. Nobody's mad at them. I don't know what the fuck anybody's mad about, really. Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that Kosovo is a very politically heated place. It's only been, 13 years since the actual conflict? It was like 94. It was before I was born. So, hence why I have no attachment to it, because I literally did not exist when it was occurring.
Yeah, but you're almost 30, though. It hasn't been 13. You're almost 30, man.
Oh, sorry. I think I said 13 because we were talking about before. I think somebody else said it. Either way, it's been a while, but it hasn't been that long, right? The people who were there during it are still alive. They're still angry. You know, I think it took, me and Robert were talking about this. It took the Netherlands 30 years to not give a fuck about Germans anymore, right? It took them that after post-war, right? After World War II, it took them 30 years to be like, okay, Germans are allowed back in the country. We don't hate them anymore.
No. Well, another good example might be Northern Ireland, too, right? Because they had years and years of conflict for basically religion. You couldn't tell an Irish from a Catholic in Northern Ireland if you lined 7,000 of them up. You couldn't pick one from the other, right? But they knew for some reason, so they fought each other. But again, they're getting along after all this time.
Well, so, they also were vehemently against being in the United Kingdom, which is why they had to become the Northern Ireland, right? Originally, it was just Ireland, and then they were like, we don't want to be here. But then the other, Northern Ireland was like, no, we still like these guys. They're great. And then the rest of Ireland was like, no, what's wrong with you?
Well,
so they had to separate.
I meant Catholic from Protestant. I think I said Catholic from Irish, whatever. It's early.
They're not real Irish people because they're Catholics.
Okay, and in other news, Canada's on fire. Premier says Eastern Canada province will take all the support we can as crews battle out of control blazes. Authorities in Eastern Canada, this is according to Al Jazeera news agency. Authorities in Eastern Canada province of Nova Scotia have appealed for outside help as firefighters battle raging wildfires and giant badgers. No, I'm just kidding. That have forced more than 16,000 people from their homes. Nova Scotia's Premier Tim Houston said on Wednesday that his government had received assistance from other provinces, including several water bombers, and had contacted officials in northeastern United States to seek additional resources. Dozens of firefighters have been fighting to contain two large out-of-control blazes near the provincial capital of Halifax. 14 fires are burning across the province, causing hazy skies and anxiety among residents. This is not the biggest province in Canada, by the way. Nova Scotia, it's the northeastern province. We aren't in crisis in the province, and we want, and we need, and we will take all the support we can get, Houston said during a news conference. Unprecedented resources are being used because these fires are unprecedented. Fire officials in Nova Scotia, home to just more than 1 million people on Canada's Atlantic coast, had warned that gusty winds and low humidity on Wednesday could fuel the Tantalian fire that continues to burn about 30 kilometers west of Halifax. The blaze has grown to about 837 hectares, authorities said in a statement. A hectare is approximately 1/3 of an acre. While Others in the Barrington Lake and Pobinco areas were also considered out of control. Halifax Regional Municipality said the fires have so far destroyed or damaged more than 200 structures, mostly homes, and forced nearly 16,500 people to flee, but no injuries have been reported. People are understandably tired, frustrated, and frightened. Halifax Mayor Mike Savage. Houston, the premier announced he's the premier. I guess that's the same as a governor of Nova Scotia. Announced late on Tuesday a ban on all activities in Nova Scotia forests, including hiking, camping, fishing, hunting, and use of off-road vehicles, and fines violating for province-wide burn ban were also created to $18,400, which is 8 million Canadian. No, it's 25,000 Canadian. For God's sake, stop burning, stop flicking cigarette butts out the car window, just stop it. Our resources are stretched incredibly thin right now fighting existing fires, Houston said. Forest fires also led to evacuations of 400 homes in the neighboring province of New Brunswick over the weekend, officials said. The stories and images we're seeing coming out of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick are heartbreaking, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau told the reporters in Ottawa, pledging federal support. We know people are extremely distressed by what's going on as federal government. We are there. We will be there to support. Many experts have pointed out that climate change is a factor in a worsened climate. Extreme wildfires, heat waves, and tropical storms around the world. Western Canada, province of Alberta, British Columbia have also been dealing with unusually warm weather that has sparked several out of control wildfires, cutting the region's oil and gas production. However, most of these fires have since been brought under control. The Halifax wildfires are expected to cause poor air quality hundreds of kilometers to the south and parts of the eastern U.S. and Midwest as smoke drifts across the region. Air quality expert alerts were in effect for eastern and western sections of Michigan, northern Ohio, parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, given high concentration of pollutants in the forest, the U.S. National Weather Service said. Your story.
All right, let's hope no more entire country landscapes get burned down to a crisp.
Maybe they should name wildfires.
Yeah, maybe people will care about them, right? If they name
them. Yeah, Wildfire Nigel for sure.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh man, I hate Nigels. And then they would care and get some water.
It's well overdue. I'm just telling you, it's well overdue that there's a Hurricane Nigel. I'm so pleased by this. I don't even know what to tell you. It may last days, my exuberance over this fact. I'll forget it in the middle of summer when they finally name it. But anyway, your turn.
In news I hate talking about, but I must talk about. Immigration and asylum. Sunak to join EU leaders at the Asylum Summit to address failings. Public spending on the asylum system has quadrupled under conservative-led governments, according to the official figures, as Rishi Sunak prepares to discuss ways of reducing the number of people seeking asylum with other European leaders. I know a way. Destroy colonialism or post-colonialism. Stop putting your fingers in other people's business. I guess that's the problem, right? Because if you don't put your fingers in other people's business, bad things happen. See, it's too much of a complicated issue. There's no way to solve asylum except for, destroy capitalism. That's my answer.
That's it. Once
the
profit motive's involved, it's like, how can we make how can we make money off destitute people?
Yeah.
Let's think of a way.
Labor has unearthed figures that show the amount spent on the asylum system has increased from £550 million in 2012 to $2.1 billion in 2021. Maybe money doesn't solve the issue then.
Yeah. Capitalism is not a tool. It's basically a way of skimming off profits. That's about it.
Yeah, I'm just like, if it's increased that much and the control of the situation hasn't decreased, maybe the money is not the solution to the problem. There was a further substantial increase in 2022 as slower asylum decisions and Suella Braverman's last-minute decision-making led to an increase in costly hotel use, the party has claimed. Asylum spending figures taken from the first financial year of Tory-led coalition government in 2010 showed that 567 million was spent processing asylum claims and on accommodation. By 2022, that had risen to 2 billion. Well, also probably an increase in refugees, right? It is expected to increase further when the figures for 2022 are published, as recent estimates show that the additional 2.4 billion from the overseas aid budget was used to support the asylum seekers on top of normal costs. Last week, the government announced that the asylum backlog had reached a new record high of 173,000 people. Over the past year, only 1% of small boat asylum cases have had a decision made. Since 2011, the productivity rate of home office caseworkers has fallen from 14 decisions a month in 2011 to 18 in 2016 to just 5 in a month in the last financial year. Okay, well that sounds like a organization issue. Maybe perhaps they're being pressured to take it slow so that people give up and don't try to seek asylum. But instead of people giving up, they just continue waiting and hence costing you more and more money. I don't know. I'm just talking bullshit because really, this is my opinion. Yvette Cooper, the Shadow Home Secretary, said, "Nothing the government is doing is working, and their legislation is making the situation worse, with more people stuck in the system than ever before." Yeah, like I said, I can't confirm or deny any of this, but it sounds like to me they're trying to make it as bad as possible to prove it doesn't work. Taking a note from the Republicans in the U.S., right? Oh, look, it doesn't work. Guess we can't do it. Instead of actually trying to help people, they're just trying to prove how bad it can go, right?
Yeah.
We're going to show you the worst case scenario and tell you it will never work.
We're going to prove a point. That's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
That's it. Who gives a fuck about human suffering?
Yeah.
We're going to prove something. What's this? We're going to make it fail intentionally and tell you how bad it is. Yep.
It's impossible for us to... Yeah. Sonia...
We can't do this, so nobody can.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sonia Seitz, the chief executive of Freedom from Torture, and there she's like, this is torture. The tragedy is that these figures do not reflect an increase in protection to people fleeing torture and persecution. It's like, asylum decision-making has almost ground to a halt under this new government, with vulnerable men, women, and children left in limbo and shunned in cramped hotel rooms for years on end. The figures have been released as the Prime Minister prepares to discuss border security at a gathering of leaders in the European political community in Moldova, which is what just happened, or is happening right now, I suppose. They're probably still talking. Initially envisioned by the French President Emmanuel Macron as a platform for unity across wider European front, the EPC will bring together the leaders of 27 EU member states, as well as 19 other countries, including the UK, Ukraine, Turkey, and Moldova's Balkan neighbors. Addressing the meeting, the Prime Minister will say that Europe is facing unprecedented threats as its border from Vladimir Putin's Russia and as a rise of illegal immigrants. People are not illegal. Yeah, I'm glad they quote in this article by who is this by again? Rajev Sial of Home Affairs on The Guardian. I am very happy that he unquoted illegal immigrants because, there are no illegal people, okay? The Prime Minister will announce the start of negotiations on a new return agreement with Moldova and confirm the similar deal struck with Georgia has entered into force. Sunak will also announce a partnership with Bulgaria and help officials destroy the business model of people smuggling gangs. The meeting will be a chance for the EU to show support for Moldovan government, which has been under pressure to fall into the Kremlin's orbit. Other items on the agenda will include Moldova's security and energy supplies that have been at part funded by the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Commenting on the asylum figures, a conservative spokesperson said, Labour's approach to asylum was a disastrous open-door policy coupled with massive amnesties. Okay, it was disastrous because of more brown people in the country?
It was, yeah.
Oh no, we had to learn about... Yeah.
People who were living in the shadows now can report crimes to the police. Wow, what a disaster.
Oh no, we have to learn about other people's cultures. We have to start eating Turkish food because a lot of people open Turkish restaurants. Oh no, This life sucks. We have to consume spices.
I was reading something. I was reading something somebody wrote the other day about population going down. He's like, the United States population would be going down if it wasn't for illegal immigration. I was like, what about legal immigration? Why don't you say that?
Don't you understand?
I mean,
there's no such
like,
thing as a legal migrant.
There is such
minds,
a thing.
Legal migrants do not exist. Ever.
Well, there is such a thing as an illegal immigration. There's people that don't follow the rules. But what my point was, how is illegal immigration the only immigration that's boosting the population? All immigration is. Why do you have to point out that it's only illegal immigrant? It's nonsense. It's like, do you know that most illegal immigrants just get here by flying on an airplane and using a passport and just never going home?
Yeah, majority.
It isn't a Canadian border. It isn't a Mexican border. It's airports, my friends. Your turn. I'm sorry. It's your story. I'm talking.
No, you're
over
correct.
it.
You're completely 100% correct.
I know I'm correct. Right.
The Labor's approach to asylum was disastrous. Open door policy just sounds like a dog whistle to me, saying, "Hey, we don't like immigrants. We don't like anyone who's not white as a piece of paper, can't handle spices, and speaks with a British accent. Those are the only people we like around here."
Just background, I worked as a contractor for Border Patrol in the United States for nearly 25 years. And that's the whole border, from Bellingham, Washington to Maine, from Key West, Florida to San Diego, to Puerto Rico, to the Virgin Islands. I worked the whole border, so I do know something about it. Doesn't make me an expert, but I know that illegal immigration and talking to people is like, yeah, it's just people on airplanes that stay here. They come here, they just stay. They're here illegally, but they just overstay there.
I mean, the only if you want to stop that kind of immigration, the only solution is to not give people temporary visas for visiting your country. Completely kill tourism. No tourism. There you go. Solution. Everything's fixed. No more brown people in your country because they're not coming anymore. They can't. So.
Yep.
Well, you can go to your next story now. We can stop editorializing about immigration.
Let's introduce eugenics into immigration. All right. Trump was taped discussing sensitive document he kept after leaving the White House. So again, more evidence that he knew he was committing a crime, which is awesome. And again, if you are supporting Trump still in your life, your brain has already turned to pudding, so nothing I say will affect you. Federal prosecutors, this is by Maggie Hamerman, Jonathan Swan, and Alan Feuer of the New York Times. Federal prosecutors investigating former president handling of classified material have recorded Trump from 2021 discussing sensitive military document he had kept after leaving the White House. Two people briefed on the matter said. In the recording, Mr. Trump suggested he knew the document was secret and not declassified it. One person briefed on the matter said. He just said this one person. Two people briefed on the matter said. Existence of the recording could undermine Mr. Trump's repeated claim that he had already declassified material that remained in possession after he left office. Once again, you cannot just say, I declassified this material and that's all it. Because the people who handle the material need to know that it's declassified. So you just can't wave a wand. Prosecutors are scrutinizing whether Mr. Trump obstructed efforts by federal officials to retrieve documents. Well, there's no scrutiny involved in this. This is obvious. Come on, man. They're so kind to this guy in these stories. The existence of the recording was reported earlier by CNN. The recording was made during the meeting Mr. Trump held in July 21 with people helping his former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, write a memoir of his 10 months in the White House, according to people briefed on the matter. The meeting was held at Mr. Trump's club at Bedminster, New Jersey, where he spends summers. Until now, the focus of the document's investigation been largely on material Trump kept at Mar-a-Lago. And never forget now, his ex-wife is buried at Bedminster Golf Course at the first tee. Probably documents inside her casket, that's what I'm saying. Mr. Meadows did not, I'm not the first person to say that. Mr. Meadows did not attend the meeting, but at least two of Mr. Trump's aides did. One, Margot Martin, routinely taped the interviews he gave for books being written about him that year. Nice. On the recording, Mr. Trump began railing about his hand-picked chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, who was described in media accounts at the time as having guarded against Mr. Trump striking Iran in the final days of his presidency, according to the people briefed on the matter. They keep saying that at the end of the paragraph. Mr. Trump had begun referencing a document which he had with him, saying it had been compiled by General Milley and is related to attacking Iran. The people briefed on. Here we go again. Among the comments, he mentioned his classification ability during the discussion. Mr. Trump can be heard handling paper on the tape, though it is not clear whether it was a document in question. The Justice Department obtained the recording in recent months, a potentially key piece of mountain of evidence that prosecutors have amassed under the special counsel Jack Smith, who was appointed in November to oversee the federal investigations into Trump. Ms. Martin was asked about the recording during a grand jury appearance, according to two people briefed on the... There we go again. In an interview with CNN on Wednesday night, James Trusty, a lawyer representing Mr. Trump in the case, indicated the former president was taking a position that he had declassified the material he took with him upon leave office. When he left from Mar-a-Lago with boxes of documents that other people packed for him, he was the commander-in-chief, Mr. Trusty said. There's no doubt that he was constitutional authority as commander-in-chief to declassify. Sure he does. But you can't just declassify and just nobody else knows about it except you. Mr. Trusty said officials could prove that Mr. Trump had declassified materials. But when pressed on whether Mr. Trump had declassified the document in question at the Bedminster meeting, Mr. Trusty declined to say. In total, government has recovered more than 300 documents with classified markings from Trump since he led office. They include the first batch of documents returned in January last year to National Archives, another set provided by the Trump aides of the Justice Department that June, materials seized by the FBI in a search of Mar-a-Lago in August, and a handful found in additional searches late last year, and I'm sure there's nothing else out there. One of the set of documents found in the FBI during the search had the highest level of classification, top secret, sensitive, compartmented information, SCI. Trump has long touted what he claimed was his ability to automatically declassify materials, and has even said he could do so with his mind. Wow. His allies have insisted that he had a standing order to declassify material when he took it from the Oval Office to the White House residence, and claimed that several former administration officials suggested is nonsense. Members of his legal team have cautioned his aides not to lean too heavily on the argument as a defense in the documents case. That claim is raised most vocally by Kash Patel, close advisor to Mr. Trump, a testified grand jury under an immunity deal forced him by prosecutors. Once again, classified or declassified, he still has to return the documents. Classified or classified, they do not belong to him.
Yeah.
Period. End of sentence. There's absolutely no ambiguity about the law. This man should be in chains. He should be in prison without parole. Anybody that supports him, their brain is already mush. I can't convince them of anything. You are stupid people who have lost all reason. This man is dangerous. He should be in prison. I don't know what is taking so long. Your story.
All right. I got an update on something that you don't want to hear, because we got an argument about it when we were watching the 90s show. But
I heard about it.
It's official.
I didn't argue about it. I just didn't know about it.
Yeah, well, it's fine.
Right.
Either way, update on U.S. television here by Associated Press. This article is by Danny Matterson, star of That 70s Show, has been found guilty of rape. The 47-year-old actor who allegedly drugged women's drinks faces up to 30 years in prison after jury finds him guilty. Danny Masterson, the actor best known for his role in That 70s Show, was found guilty of 2 counts of rape on Wednesday in a Los Angeles retrial, in which the Church of Scientology played a central role. Oh no, he was a Scientologist. That's not good. That's not good news for the religious people. I don't know. Yeah, the jury of 7 women and 5 men reached the verdict after deliberating for 7 days spread over 2 weeks. They could not reach a verdict on the 3rd count, that alleged Masterson raped a longtime girlfriend. They had voted 8-4 in favor of conviction. Masterson was led from the courtroom in handcuffs. The 47-year-old actor faces up to 30 years in prison. His wife, actor and model Bijou Phillips, wept as he was led away. Other family and friends sat stone-faced. Prosecutors, retrying Masterson after a deadlocked jury led to a mistrial in December, said he forcibly raped 3 women, including a longtime girlfriend, in his Hollywood Hills home between 2001 and 2003. They told jurors he drugged the women's drinks so he could rape them. They said he used his prominence in the church, where all 3 women were members of at the time, to avoid consequences for decades. Wow. You know, people can talk bad about Catholics and whatever, but all religions are like this, by the way. As soon as you're in like an organization that can defend you, who has power, I mean, it's not even religions. Governments are like this. Anything that's a big group of thing with people with power, they can go, oh, you broke the law? That's okay, we'll cover it up for you. That's okay, you don't have to worry about it. Messed up, man. Masterson did not testify, and his lawyers called no witnesses. The defense argued that the acts were consensual and attempted to discredit the women's stories by highlighting changes and inconsistencies over time, which they said showed signs of coordination between them. Or perhaps because it was like 30 years ago. Maybe that's why there was I don't remember if what happened, because it was 30 years ago. My body went into, fight or flight mode. So I literally just dissociated from the event. But, you know, if you decided that a witness deliberately lied about something in this case, defense attorney Philip Cullen told jurors, you should consider not believing anything the witness says. They lied about this one little detail, hence they're liars for the rest of their life. Okay. The church, that was my editorializing. I didn't say that.
Okay. He said that? Wow.
I was like, whoa, what the fuck? That's what I'm reading. If they lied about what color their dress was, it's over for them. The Church of Scientology, I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous to me. What's the term? Men. Hashtag men.
Okay, that's pretty general, but whatever.
It is, yeah. It is.
Okay.
The Church of Scientology played a significant role in the first
Liars
trial.
lie, that's true. Go ahead.
But arguably an even larger one in the second. Judge Charlene F. Olmedo allowed expert testimony on church policy from a former official in the Scientology leadership who had become a prominent opponent. Tensions ran high in the courtroom between current and former Scientologists, and even leaked into testimony, with the accusers saying on the stand that they felt intimidated by some members in the room. Actor Leah Remini, a former member who's become the church's highest prolific critic, sat in on the trial at times, putting her arm around one of the accusers to comfort her during closing arguments. It's not accusers. He's been found guilty. It's victims now. Just saying. One of the victims, founded in 1953 by L. Ron Hubbard, the Church of Scientology has many members who work in Hollywood. The judge kept limits on how much prosecutors could talk about the church, and primarily allowed it to explain why the women took so long to go to authorities. The women testified that when they reported Masterson to church officials, they were told they were not raped, were put through ethics programs themselves, and were warned against going to law enforcement to report a member of such high standing. They were raped, they were punished for it, and they were retaliated against. The Deputy District Attorney Remhold Mueller told jurors in his closing argument, Scientology told them there's no justice for them. You have the opportunity to show them there is justice. The church vehemently denied having any policy that forbids members from going to secular authorities. Testimony in the case was graphic and emotional. 2 women who knew Masterson from social circles in church said he gave them drinks and that they became woozy and passed out before he violently raped them in 2003. The third, Masterson's then girlfriend of 5 years, said she awoke to find him raping her and had to pull his hair to stop him. The issue of drugging also played a major role in the retrial. At first, Olmedo only allowed prosecutors and accusers to describe their disorientation and to imply that they were drugged. The second time, they were allowed to argue it directly, and the prosecution attempted to make it a major factor, to no avail. The defendant drugs his victim to gain control, said the Deputy District Attorney, Ariel Anson. In her closing argument, he does this to take away his victim's ability to consent. Masterson was not charged with any counts of drugging, and there is no toxicology evidence to back up the assertion, probably because it was like 30 years ago. His attorney asked for a mistrial over the issue inclusion. The motion was denied, but the issue is likely to be a major factor in any potential appeal. These charges date to the period when Masterson was at the height of his fame, starring from 1998 until 2006 as Stephen Hyde on Fox's That 70s Show, the show that made stars of Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, and Topher Grace. Masterson has reunited with Kutcher on the 2016 Netflix comedy The Ranch, but was written off the show when an LAPD investigation was revealed in December 2017. Information and support for anyone affected by rape or sexual abuse issues is available from the following organizations in the US. RAIN offers support on 800-656-4673. In the UK, Rape Crisis offers support at 0808 500 2222. In Australia, support is available at 1800 RESPECT or 1800 737 732. Other international helplines can be found at eblio.org. That's an interesting website name, eblio. Anyways, just a update on that because I was slowly following it in my own personal life because we reacted to the 90s show and you were like, where the hell's Hyde? And I'm like, he's currently indisposed. He's currently indisposed with the court trial. So I don't think he was available for filming. Either way,
affect me.
In this week, or in this day in history, I guess.
You hear that?
No.
You don't hear it?
Yeah, I hear now.
For Nigel. All right. On the song, man. XTC. Great band. Very underrated. I'm going to be playing them all week now. Well, what's left of the week. On this day in history, besides making plans for Nigel, 1794, the great naval engagement of the French Revolutionary War, the Battle of 1st of June, appropriately named, was fought between England and France in the Atlantic Ocean. In 1907, the English aviation engineer and pilot Frank Whittle, who invented the jet engine, was born. In 1926, Marilyn Monroe, who was born Norma Jean Baker, I had to remember that. It wasn't written down here. Was born in Los Angeles in this day in 1926. In 1945, in a speech, Indonesian nationalist leader Sukarno articulated the Pancasila, the 5 principles that became the founding philosophy of the independent Indonesian state. 1958, following the outbreak of an insurrection in Algiers, Charles de Gaulle came before the French National Assembly as Prime Minister designate. In 1968, blind and deaf American author Helen Keller died in Westport, Connecticut on this day in 1968. In 2002, the Czech Republic became the first country to enact a law to address light pollution. All outdoor fixtures were required to have a shield that prevented light from extending above the horizontal. In 2009, American motor vehicle manufacturer General Motors filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. It soon emerged from their reorganization and in 2010 returned to the stock market. It's one of the largest IPOs in American history. In 2009, also, American comedian Conan O'Brien made his debut as the host of The Tonight Show, NBC's long-running talk show. However, he left after less than 1 year after Jay Leno screwed him. And 1980 was the debut of CNN, Ted Turner's cable news network, headquartered in Atlanta, began 24-hour live news broadcasts on this day in 1980 and gained worldwide attention in 1991 for its round-the-clock coverage of the Persian Gulf War. Birthdays today, Morgan Freeman turns 85. He's born on June 1st, 1937. Alanis Morissette shares a birthday with him. She was born in 1974. Also, Heidi Klum was born on this day in 1973. Happy birthday to David Berkowitz, American serial killer. Why are we wishing happy birthday to serial killers? The son of Sam's birthday today. He turns 70.
Yeah, great. He's
all right.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't fucking know. Why are we celebrating serial killers? Also, Andy Griffith, which I'd rather celebrate Andy Griffith's birthday than a serial killer. He was born this day in 1923. What day is it? What day is it, you ask? What day?
Yeah, what am I doing today?
Well, today is June 1st, which is Global Day of Parents, so you better be nice to me. National Game Show Day, also today. World Milk Day. World Reef Awareness Day. National Pen Pal Day. National Go Barefoot Day, so I'm taking my socks off here as soon as we get off here. National Heimlich Maneuver Day. National Nail Polish Day. National Say Something Nice Day. Let me see. Nice hair. National Hazelnut Cake Day. So those are all the days today. So when you're eating your hazelnut cake, make sure you chew slowly so nobody has to perform the Heimlich on you.
Yeah, don't put any huge nuts in the cake. Yeah.
Right. And and when you're running barefoot, don't be chewing on your cake. You might choke.
Yeah.
And painting your nails. And painting your nails and writing your pen pal and going to a reef and being nice to your parents and drinking some milk. All right, I covered everything.
All right, this has been Allison here getting angry about immigrants and rape cases. I hope to see you tomorrow for some more exciting news on what the hell is going on in the world.
And this is Roger preparing for the hurricane season and particularly making plans for Nigel on June 1st. 2023 edition of Before Coffee. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.